Good evening and welcome to another episode of Pugwatch with me, Metroid 2K. Now today's instance is the Oculus once again. Again, the tank is not death capped, although not being the healer I kind of didn't realise this, but I'm going to raise that as my first point and you'll see why as we go along. Now my character choice for today is one I haven't broken out for a little while, is my Warlock. She's Demonology / Destruction dual spect. I must admit I'm not a big fan of Destruction or Affliction. For me, Warlock is all about having the pet out, so you'll mainly see me, if I ever use this character again, as Demonology. The main reason for breaking her out is purely because the fact Cataclysm was coming, and I wanted to really just get ready. I've played a Warlock on the test realm, and the changes do actually seem to restore a lot of the fun to the class I found is missing lately. This actually was my first character I ever rolled a Warlock. Names changed and races changed quite a bit, but it's the same Warlock. Yeah, the Warlock in general is one of my favourite classes. It's lost a lot of fun in Wrath. It's lost a lot of what made it fun. A lot of people used to argue when you got Demonology Warlocks in the group, but I can't see why really. I mean, we provide a buff to everybody. We've got our spells. I guess it's just one of those things. Now, a couple of key points here that for people who play pet classes, mainly myself, hunters. Warlocks, Hunters, Death Knights, if you've got a Ghoul, or is it Unholy Spec, turn off any taunt that the pet may have. I don't think the Ghoul has anything, but I can't be too certain. I haven't played a Death Knight for ages. The idea being is that the taunt on your pet will aggravate the tank, and I must admit, although this tank isn't really death capped, and I could probably get my pet to tank better than he is, it's not the point. He's rolled tank, he's here to tank it, so I'm not going to take that away from him. It does break the control of the group, so if you are a tank, and someone has got their pet's taunt on, ask them kindly to remove it. If they do it again, ask them kindly again. If they do it a third time, then a bit of a swifter reminder of, oi, your pet's got taunt on usually works. If they're any good, they'll have turned it off at the start of the instance anyway. Now, this group was a pretty good group. There's a high amount of DPS. I must admit, I'm only just over the threshold to start with. I actually only did 1700 DPS on this fight. Although when I broke down the recount later and had it set by a per fight basis, it was actually working out a bit better. A mate of mine, actually, Vorlak, as you've met in one of the previous videos, highly recommended putting it on per fight because it's a lot easier for classes like Warlocks, Shadow Priests, things that take a bit of time to build up, don't always do so well in short fights like Trash. It's nice to see how well they actually do. Now, as you can see here, pretty much I spammed Shadow Bolt for this first pack here and didn't do too well on the DPS. And then I kind of just changed my tune and just did Rain of Fire, which pretty much makes it all easy. But again, it is what I hate about Wrath, is you just AoE stuff down. Oh look, it's dead AoE. I also realised I didn't have Rain of Fire on the action bar, so I had to move it out. Now, in this group, we've got a Paladin tank, Boomkin Druid, a Rogue, and I've forgotten what the healer was actually. He'll crop up in a second. I think he's a priest, but I could be wrong. Yeah, he's a priest. Group makeup itself, not a problem. I mean, it's not like you actually need crowd control, but if we did, I can banish and enslave demons, the Boomkin can cyclone, the priest can shackle undead, and the paladin has his Hammer of Judgment thingy. Hammer of Justice, that's the one. Anyway, main concerns about this group was the lack of communication. There's a couple of times we've taken off, and anyone who's done Oculus kind of lands on this ring, goes round, and then goes off to, if I stop spinning around, normally you take off from the ring and then go off to the left. This time the tank actually went off to the right, but he didn't say going off to the right or anything. It took us a couple of seconds to find him once he'd taken off and disappeared. Also, this is something that always happens, is when you land on these platforms, make sure you're not in combat. If you jump off when you're in combat, you can't get back on, and the chances are a bigger dragon will kill you. Now, once again, our paladin friend runs in. Now, as you can see from the way his health is moving so rapidly, it goes down, then goes almost back up again because the priest has just got him topped up. But I did check his armory, and his defense rating is only 515. And the cap itself is obviously 535 for heroics, 545 for raids. To be honest, this is beginning to disgust me now because I've done quite a few pickup groups, and almost, in fact, I'd say it's coming close to 3 in, probably 3 out of 4, almost 3/4 of the groups I've joined for pugs have had non-death cap tanks who think this is acceptable. And it's slowly sickening me. It's really putting me off this game at the moment. The people who aren't geared for what were originally properly hard instances, yes, they're not hard anymore, but for God's sake, it's there just so everybody else has an easier time. But I'm beginning to ramble, and, well, not so much ramble, but rant. It is something that really irritates me about this, is the fact that I've put all my effort in to get some gear, to get some epics. Even this character is geared out sufficiently to do appropriate damage. I mean, it's not amazing damage, but you can't get a lot of damage until you start getting the tier 9 gear, and you can't get a lot of the tier 9 gear until you start getting badges. But if someone called me and said, "Oh, you're doing crap DPS," I'd say, "Well, hang on, what do you want me to do?" And if they turned around and went 2k, I'd go, "Fuck off." It's I've come in here with blues from the previous dungeons, and I think I got 1 or 2 epics from the badge vendors with what I had available. Like, I've got the shoulders and something else. But eventually they've reached the limit where you can't get any more. Now, yes, this character is also an engineer. I love engineering, as I've said previously. Those are the rocket boots I triggered off there. I've also got the rocket gloves on, as you probably saw, against that boss. Disappointingly, I don't use them all that much. They are keyed to a shoulder button on my mouse, so I literally smack the button and send the missiles off. But I don't tend to use them as much as I should do in this instance. Definitely one of my favourite trinkets, so that and parachute cloak. Parachute cloak is win. Now, again, as you saw before we took that boss, there was a little bit of a communication break, and the tank tried going into the area before he was ready for it, so we got to go over and clear the other platform, so not so much of a problem. Now, what happened here was the priest pulled before the tank had landed and then stood behind a tree. Now, luckily the pack didn't aggro on anybody. If it had, I would have laughed, popped Metamorphosis, and then just smacked it in the face. That's another thing, actually. Metamorphosis, brilliant idea for Warlocks, but it's so no spell damage boosty, it's a bit rubbish. I don't use it at all in this instance, actually, purely because there's only about 3 fights that I can use it on where I'm not mounted on a dragon or whatever. And I haven't actually macroed up all the other attacks, but the problem with it in my book is that I've got to lay a teleport circle, demon form, run in, immolate aura, just stand there and burn everything while throwing like shadow cleave or whatever it is. I mean, shadow cleave is weak. I tend to just throw shadow bolts or searing pains. And if I really want to aggravate the tank, do I do searing pains? But yeah, a wasted talent, I must admit. I do like the look of what's happening to it in Cataclysm. It's becoming more of a spell parry buffy thing. Personally, I would have liked to have seen it as more of a permanent form where you can turn into a demon and it boosts your spell power, but you can't cast certain spells. Like in demon form, you can only cast shadow, or you can only cast fire, or whatever. I'd prefer shadow because then I just build down the Destro tree in demonology, but each their own. Sorry, fire, not shadow. Now, I went the wrong way here and got caught by the blast, but I kind of managed to get around it. The priest healed us all up. And the ring dropped. I quite like this ring, and I didn't see the priest need on it, so I needed on it myself and won it. And you see, I scrolled up, didn't see anybody need it. And then I saw the need roll come up. And all it is, I apologised to the priest, and when he jumped off his dragon, I traded it back to him. To be honest, it's nice gear, but it's got MP5 on it, which is far more beneficial to a healer than anything else. I mean, it's more beneficial to them than it is to me, because I can life tap. So I kind of just gave him the ring and went, here you go. Now, I'm not sure if this guy had ever done this instance before. He didn't get the achievement at the end, but he was like, who shall I heal? And it's kind of like, well, you've got to heal everybody for this fight. It's the tank should be, or the Red Drake, I should say, should be putting up Martyr in that. But notice he pulled before anyone was ready. The healer wasn't anywhere near him. He's already taken a hell of a lot of damage before he's even engaged Malygos. And the fact that he's not death capped, I don't know whether that has any effect on the Drakes, because they do scale on gear, but he pretty much goes down quite quickly. I tried a couple of times to help out here by taking out the little Drakes, but with the Red Drake down, they kind of get all over the place. So we wiped in a minute. As you'll see, I get smacked for 6 off my Drake. And all this because the guy didn't stop, didn't check we were ready, just ran straight in off his own back. And he's doing it through the whole instance to be accurate. He's just rushing, but he's not said to anybody, I'd like to make this a quick run, or hi guys. I don't think he even said hi at the beginning. And then when he fell off his Drake and died, he just did a sarcastic good job. And I was like, well, it's your own fault, you idiot. You muppet. And I die, and Bejeweled triggered as well. I had a quick look up to see if everyone else had managed to successfully... Maybe we might have stood a fighting chance, but they all started dying then, so I just released and ran in. Anyone who actually noticed that during that fight was the mistimed time stop was actually myself. I caught it at the wrong moment and time stopped everything in the wrong direction. However, by that point the tank had already died, so I let myself off. Yes, granted, I should have been more careful with my time stops, and I think the second fight I was. One thing I didn't realise is that the time vortex, the button 3 on the yellow Drake, is actually the it's a channeled move rather than anything else. So I kind of sat there trying to spam it, thinking it was a button, and of course cancelled it myself every time I hit 3 again. Now this is my first time actually riding a DPS Drake as well. Most of the time I get asked to tank or heal. I don't mind the tanking Drake. The healing one I always find a little bit fiddly, but I get around it. But yeah, the healing one's quite interesting. But again, no communication. If someone had said, oh, you time stop first, you time stop first, you time stop then, instead everyone's just waiting and just going, time stop now. And as you saw, I think I triggered mine with someone else at the second time. Now, fly back up here. I don't think we do make it count. I can't actually tell because the achievement disappears the moment we engage in combat, I think. I must admit, I only looked midway through combat, so it's possible it had expired and I just hadn't realised. But these guys take so long getting back on their bloody Drakes anyway. I think we lost nearly a minute waiting for them to fly up here. There they are. Oh, it didn't disappear, so yeah, we must have expired. Now the Maligos fight, as you probably remember from my previous video, is a simple case of you use the time stop when he pops all the little Drakes out. The idea being, if you get it right, you time stop them all close together, and the warriors, or the red Drake's beam bounces between, as you can see it's doing there, it bounces between them all. One or two, I think that was me the second time I popped it either at the right or the wrong place, I couldn't actually tell. Mainly because there were so many little Drakes flying around, but everyone focused fire to take out the little Drakes so they didn't just gang up on the tank again. As you can see there, the healer did get taken down, but we took the big Drake down without a problem. And all plate loot, no good for Warlocks. Actually, I did get a nice cloak from it. It's got no spirit on it, but that's weird for me. I'm never used to rolling on spirit because I'm a TBC Warlock and spirit was just there. But now it does work with one of my buffs. I think it's demon armor or something. It gives me, fell armor. It gives me a bonus to spell power. Plus, if I've got the glyph of life tap, it gives me a bonus there as well. Anyway, as you saw, pretty simple instance run. We didn't get any Drake, but never mind. It's because we didn't do it quick enough. But yeah, main complaints again. Tank not hit capped. No communication whatsoever, and it caused quite a few mix-ups with people running in the wrong direction. And just people generally just not knowing where they got to go in this instance. I mean, I've done it enough times, I know where I should be going, but it's following the rest of the group and realising that they're not doing it in a different order, they're just lost. I would say middle of the road group, but I think I'm being too lenient on a lot of groups nowadays. It's if I got asked to do that group again and I knew exactly what I was getting into, I'd go no. No, not with your stupid non-def cat tank who doesn't talk to people. In fact, I think I'm going to start cracking down a lot more on my groups that I review, especially with non-def cap tanks. DPS weren't subpar in this group, they were acceptable. Just lack of communication and just my general anger at a non-def cap tank is really... I can't really explain how angry that makes me, that you can't be bothered to put the effort in that everybody else did to tank that heroic. Oh, seriously, you physically get hold of these people, I'd smack them across the face and go, no, get back in your corner. Lazy bastards. So total score for this run, 3 out of 10. General comments are, just hit the friggin' def cap, you morons. Hit it and hit it good. And yeah, this has been Pugwatch. I've been Metro2K. Have a good evening.